coming to this session. We really appreciate you coming to this session because there's other stuff going on. This is a bit of a leap of faith this year at the conference, because what I've said to a number of suppliers is the problem with BAPCO, where BAPCO sits in the middle of people who understand technology and people who run the business and the commercial suppliers. There's definitely a lack of understanding, shall we say, between those three parties. So I've thrown the gauntlet down this year to our commercial colleagues and said what I'd like you to do is to really show the world of operational people what is possible and how you might think differently as a result of seeing it, with a hope that people go home and think, I think I want to think about things differently and run my business in a different way. So I will do no more than hand over to Rob, who's going to facilitate for us, and Rob will just probably hand over to Klaus and the team there. So thank you for coming.
My role is pretty light in this session in terms of colleagues from SAAB have put together an excellent scenario-based discussion, and that will explore technology in terms of public and agency communication. They're very keen to take questions as we go through, so it'll be an interactive session, and at the end we'll actually provide you with the scenario and the inputs and the tools that were available to the responders that we'll be talking through, because it may be something you want to play back within your own commercial, local resilience or individual organisation afterward, back when you're in the office. So over to Klaus and the team.
Hello, I'm team.
Yeah, Adam.
Yeah, sorry. Just to introduce ourselves very quickly, my name's Adam Pink. I'm an ex-Hampshire police officer, and I work alongside SAAB, providing some of the knowledge engine technology that goes behind the SAFE platform. I'll let Klaus introduce himself.
My name is Klaus Delgado. I work for SAAB here in the UK, and so we're promoting our command and control capabilities here in the UK for the last 18 months. We have a stand downstairs, E30, which you're more than welcome to come to. So we put together, we got the scenario from Sue here. We've digested it as best we could. We're going to run through it now, give you a context overview of it, and then we show you a bit of our sensor technologies, how we can deploy, what the possibilities are, and how that could be incorporated into a modern command and control platform. In as much in the context as we can, but given the time constraints, some of these sketches or films that you will see has no real context to the actual case, but is illustration. So you can read that as in that context. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first of all tell you what the scenario is that we've been set to, the challenge we've been set to meet. This is a fictitious utility plant called Oldfield. It produces power and it sits on the east coast. Approximately 12 miles away from the plant is a town called Thistleford that has 150,000 people living in it. And about 7 miles away is Glyn Town, which is about 75,000 people of the population there. There is a single access road that runs from Thistleford to the Oldfield plant. And as you'll see the scenario developing, you'll see the issue that's been set for us. So the first thing that happens is that some of the sensors that are based at the Oldfield plant detect some activity as some small boats begin to arrive on the beach. And in the boats are people dressed in balaclavas, carrying bags, not looking suspicious at all.
Not a normal fisherman. Yeah.
So at this point, the police are alerted to this activity on the beach, and our scenario says, according to the policy of the utility plant, the police at this stage take no further action, which they may or may not do. I think I might be keen to get there and see what was going on. But also, at the same time, we have some bird watchers that are in the area. It's a wildlife area. They also notice the activity, and they begin to let the police know that there's something odd going on. Very shortly after this, the CCTV systems in Thistleford begin to pick up some activity as an armoured vehicle begins to storm its way through the town. It starts to collide with vehicles, it causes some injuries, so immediately the balloon goes up in Thistleford as well. There's something going on in Oldfield, there's something going on in Thistleford, what's happening? So at this point, of course, social media begins to light up, people are reporting these odd goings on, and the networks are awash with mystery and activity, and who knows what's going on. It's all very exciting. So the police begin to identify where their assets are, who needs to be where, and begins to find where we need to get them to. Well, the next thing that happens is that the armoured vehicle makes its way from the town down the access road towards the Oldfield plant, and shortly after this, the perimeter fence is breached by armed insurgents who make their way into the plant and start injuring guards. The next thing that happens is that the communication link between Oldfield and the rest of the world is cut, it's destroyed in some way, and then there is an explosion as the armoured vehicle crashes its way through the gates and explodes, and a plume of undetermined smoke begins to rise and drift towards the urban areas. So here we have it. This is our scenario, and this is what we need to respond to with a collection of different technologies. Now, there are various ways to approach this. What we've decided to do is just break it down into 10 particular phases that may or may not be in a chronological order, but what we'll do is we'll identify each one of these, what the issues are with each of these. I'll ask some questions, and then Klaus is going to talk about the particular technologies or the capabilities that you might want to consider using in each of these different scenarios. So the first one is about preparation. You may or may not have in your agency, your utility, an action plan to cover just this sort of event. But what happens when you've got fire, ambulance, police, hospitals, the utility plant, all with different action plans? How do you bring all of those together? How do you prepare so that you know how you're going to manage your resources, how you're going to manage interoperability between systems, how are you going to handle mutual aid if that's required? What you need is something that's a single operating environment that's going to draw all of this to give you the best chance of making the right response.
And that's where SAAB is coming in with its situational awareness or integrated command and control, giving you the opportunities to put in and all your your plans, your procedures, your actions in there, and manage through one system, combining it with the sensor information. So the sensor will warn, and based upon the warning sensor or the incident that you create, you can then use a single platform to manage the event. Yeah. So and this platform should be a multi-agency capable platform, so to be able to manage and direct the resources from several agencies, because in a major incident like this, there will be resources to be managed for just fire, ambulance, I mean just what Adam has listed up requires, police, maybe military as well, ambulance for certain, and fire. So I think that the system itself has or should have a rules-based dispatch engine, so that based upon the threat or based upon your requirements for the resource to respond, the system should guide your operator or dispatch automatically the right resources. It should give you guidance for decision support in terms of what decisions should the operator take faced with a threat or the incident faced. And it should be able to guide and monitor you through the mission. And we'll talk about the sensor technology a little bit now and come back to how this is actually done.
So early warning stage, we've got a couple of different sensor technologies going on here. We've got CCTV, which is fairly ubiquitous, but we want to talk about this one here, which is Skeldar. You've heard of drones, and in the brief it was mentioned that the utility plant have a drone, SAAB have a drone, and we're going to show you a little video here of it in action.
This video is actually from a real training.
green.
The Skeldar vehicle is a medium-range rotary-wing UAV with high payload capacity. It can be fitted with a variety of sensors depending on mission requirements. The system has a very small logistical footprint. A standard setup would be 2 air vehicles and 1 ground control station, GCS, which can be integrated with a vehicle of choice. Skeldar can be launched from a traveling convoy, as well as from a safe zone. The system is compact and easy to transport, ready to support any operation, anywhere. In 2013, Skeldar was put to the test during a live demonstration. An open space was used as launch area.
With 2 operators and 1 mechanic, Skeldar only requires a minimum of personnel, and it's rapidly deployed, so it's very responsive to immediate needs. We had received information from various sources that an individual suspected from many attacks was in our area of operation. Within minutes, we had Skeldar in the air, searching for him.
Skeldar 1 taking off, climbing 2,500, 500 feet to go.
The suspect's vehicle could have deviated from its last known route in a number of places. An optimized search pattern was defined, which Skeldar followed autonomously. The first road searched proved empty, but then Skeldar spots a vehicle en route yellow.
Skeldar 1, target is acquired. We're descending altitude 500 feet AGL above the target.
Skeldar tracks the vehicle from a distance, careful to avoid detection.
Tracking target now, he's heading south-southwest.
Real-time information is a powerful asset. Having access to Skeldar's sensor image really helped improve our situational awareness. My team's mission was to capture Vincent once we received a positive ID.
The strike team is closing in on the target when something unexpected happens.
Target is stopped. Approaching somebody. Entering the building. Hovering now, 0 knots.
The major benefit of a rotor wing design over a fixed wing design is the ability to avoid dead angles while observing a stationary target. Skeldar can hover for many hours while providing real-time information.
Carrying something out. Looks like IEDs. Loading him into the back of the truck. Foxtrot Alpha, Skeldar 1. Target's mobile. Route yellow.
Roger that. Approaching interception point.
ETA, 45 seconds.
Still unaware he's being followed, Vincent drives right into the hands of the strike team.
Skeldar, Foxtrot Alpha. The target is on the run.
Roger. Target's on foot. Heading east.
Vehicle secured. Pursuing target.
Target is hiding approximately 200 meters to the east of your position.
Roger that. 200 east.
In a final attempt to get away, Vincent tries to run.
Get down! Get down! I have a positive ID on the target. Vincent captured.
The Karlskoga demonstration provides clear evidence of Skeldar's operational value. Rapid deployment, ease of use, and the ability to hover are just a few of the features that make Skeldar one of the most advanced UASs available. Skeldar. Seeing is believing.
Well, we wanted to show this, as Adam says, because you indicated that in the scenario that we had a drone, we think that a drone provides an excellent sensor information and its capabilities. And it is used in Europe, in many countries, for coastal defense or coastal surveillance against smugglers, amongst other things.
So in the alert phase, you've got various sensors, and some of those sensors are human sensors. So you need to be able to capture the data that's coming in, make sense of that data, and do something with it, whether that's informing a decision or an action.
Just the sensor information on its own is fine. Skeldar's got its own, for instance, if we just take that scenario, it's got its own operating platform, but combining this into an integrated command and control platform makes it very powerful. And then we can combine it with other information. Because you saw the scenario that was painted out in the film, of course they were tracking vehicles, they were using other sensor information to create the scenario. And that's what you need an integrated command and control platform to do. So I'm just going to use a film here.
Sorry.
Just going to show you a quick scenario of how an integrated platform in the command center at the Opel plant could look at. So here we got the incident, got an incident coming in, action plans, based upon on the procedures. It says, okay, what are the best resources to dispatch to this area? We got a fence violation, which is what we have in this scenario. They're dispatching immediately to the resources. The resources is here. So the resource receives information on his smartphone or his PDA saying what the incident is. Saying, I acknowledge receipt of it. So it's instant out there. Pass the information. He gets his actions, because of the procedures you put in, travel around, you can read it yourself, do it in normalize, take a picture, informs command center that he or she is on site. He is then able to take video, create this dynamic or link between the operative and the command center, feed it back to the command center. What's happened here? Obviously not a big enough hole for a lot of people with balaclavas to go through, but you see the principles. Yeah. And these are the resources available to us. And now we're deploying them. And we can then view cameras available in that area directly from the command and control. In here, we don't have to go to a separate command unit and look for the joystick, etc. Everything is at your fingertips. And you see that the color coding means, you can see which resources are deployed to what area, etc. That's one view of how you can handle, incoming sensor information and get the system to assist you to do the right things. And we've shown maps from outdoors. We can also build in maps of the indoors with all the local sensor information, where it, again, interactive, fire alarm goes off, reconnaissance, an integrated command system, command and control system can then switch on relevant cameras in the vicinity to give situational awareness.
In this particular context, in a prison, you can have it set up so that if there's an issue in one room and you've got guards running to that room, you can go ahead of them and automatically unlock the doors as they reach it to reduce the amount of time it takes them to get to that position. So we're going to just talk about identifying. So in this particular phase, we're saying, well, who is it that we've got coming? Do we know how many of them there are? Do we know who is at risk? How many people are at risk? What equipment or what other threats are there? What environmental factors do we have to think about? All of these things need to be identified in order to make the correct response. Yeah, we've got another little film here.
Which film is this?
I think this was the police one.
Again, it's a...
Yeah.
It's the, again, it's the caller, the bird watcher, that is alluding to. So we can triangulate whereabouts in the vicinity this call comes from. We can create an incident based upon that. We can, as we get more information from the caller itself about what this incident is, more information can be generated through. I don't know if you want to chip in here with the...
So the dynamic decision support comes in this middle panel at the top here. What it's doing, it's saying, what are the policies, procedure, what's the legislation, what's the particular intelligence components that we've got It draws those from all the different systems that it's integrated with. And for the call taker, for the decision maker, or even for the gold commander, there are some suggestions that begin to float to the top. And as they begin to take action, it might be that the circumstances change and all of a sudden there's new information. So whereas before it was recommended one type of deployment resource, all of a sudden something happens. Or the resource isn't available and we need to rethink it. Well, this runs ahead and makes suggestions intelligently based on all the known information. So it gives the best chance of the right information happening at the right time. And because the decisions are presented and there is a choice to respond or to choose or to respond to those decisions, everything is audited, everything is reviewable. So when you go back in time and you want to unpick the event later on, you can say, what did we know at this point in time? Were the decisions that were made at that point in time justified based on the information that we knew? You're removing some of that doubt that comes with when you're asking a police officer or a member of staff to recall what happened, sometimes a year later, if they're having to stand up in court. Whereas you've got a robust way of saying the decision you took was based on this information and this was the outcome that it came to. Was that justified? It's a way of trying to reduce that element of doubt.
So we're just showing here that we can add in lookup. As more information is disclosed to the operator, the system can dive down into databases and deduct more and more information out.
So where it identifies somebody, we can pass a picture of that person straight out to the mobile unit. You can use the map to interface to actually run the control, so you can select on a unit and you can use the pop-up menus from the map itself to control various elements, which includes video. So if the car is mounted with a car-mounted video, then that image can be streamed back to the control room. The control room can see exactly what's coming from that vehicle.
Or body-worn camera.
Yeah, or in the case of body-worn camera, the moment of arrest of our domestic violence suspect.
You can picture this in a serious event like the scenario we have. That what benefits it would be to have, live images from the people involved directly in there to sort of cut down on decision time and remove doubt. Yeah.
What it's demonstrating there as well is creating a geofence, and the same decision, the rules that you're creating, you can create specific localized rules which can be very rapidly created in order to say, we're going to create a geofence around this area, and the rule might be, as soon as an officer walks into that geofence, they're going to receive a signal to turn on their body-worn video camera, or they're going to receive a signal to get out of that area, they shouldn't be there. And you can turn off various layers in the map, satellite, road overlays, and all of your icons are coded according to what availability that unit has, and you can select on a unit and see what assets are available in that unit. Right.
It's all about making, because you're never short of data in most call centers. You have available data. If you search the data, you can easily get, it should be these, maybe these. Amongst these 12 persons should be. But the trick is to try and condense it down to the operator to make the decision. We just talked about maps, and we support 2D, 3D maps, so that the 3D maps could be a really good supplement to command centers, especially where you're trying to operate into areas which is not your local domain. So to be able to guide the personnel to see that you have to go here behind that red building. We'll just show you a film about how SAAB, some bespoke technology we have for creating 3D maps. it gives you a really good overview of the area you're working in, especially if it's high risk area.
So the next thing is, what about the people that might be affected by this incident? We've got this unknown quantity of smoke drifting towards an urban area. We need to take into consideration how many people is it going to affect, what ability do those people have to get themselves out, what ability do we need to provide for them in order to evacuate them. If the situation changes, how do we then adapt our plans accordingly? So all of these kind of things have to be taken into account, along with who do you use? You can't do it all yourself, so what volunteer groups do we bring involved? What other agencies do we bring into this? What part do the media play? How, again, do you coordinate all of that? Are you going to use separate entities, separate systems in order to do it, or can you do it through one single command and control system?
And it comes back to your planning, initial planning. So, when things happen, if you haven't done your planning, the command and control system, however good it is not a magic wand. Yeah? So you can't wave it to do that, but you can use it to do scenario planning. You can use it to give you information if you allow the system to gain information about demographics, based upon, in its ultimate, we can, you saw what Adam did earlier, drew a geofence zone. So if you can draw a danger zone, we can combine that with geodata, get the demographics, find out, who's in this circle. If you have data related to how to contact these people, or you can automate that contact. You can use other scenario modeling if you've got access to meteorological data. In theory, you can plug meteorological data in here and say, okay, if you've got a CBRN sensor going off, combine that with the meteorological data at the time, we can predict where will the smoke go, and also which are the agencies that will be involved.
The next thing is responding. Who do we need where to do what? What capabilities do they need? What skills and equipment do they need? How available are they? How do we get them to work together?
The integrated communication, SAAB's platform is we have we're a Microsoft stack application, and we build our communication platform on Microsoft Links technology, IP technology, which makes it quite easy for us to facilitate integrated communication between the different agencies. We facilitate also video calls with the public. We have queue systems, and we can then geocode the information coming in and facilitate, be that communication tool through one single platform. So it's not that you have to sort of communicate with fire on this hand and then roll your chair over and then ambulance here and then a bit of police over there. It's all through one communication channel.
Just want to talk very briefly about the knowledge engine behind this, which is the part that I'm involved with. We create a semantic model. It looks like a flowchart, but it isn't. What it does is it creates relationships between concepts, and by doing that, we can capture all sorts of knowledge. So whether that knowledge is a piece of legislation, or whether it's an operational procedure, or whether it's a taxonomy, that can be captured. So what happens then is, at the time of the incident, the process is not predefined. You say, it's a bit like a sat-nav, I want to get to this point, I want to achieve this. Then the engine interprets the models, it looks at the constraints, and it says, well, we can't do this because of that, we understand this, we understand that, and it will start to work out dynamically the process path you're going to go through. Now, it might be that it's just decision support, it might be that it's just questions, but it could also be, if it's appropriate, automated, so it can actually carry out actions. It might be that it's based on sensor information, so a sensor is triggered through a geofence or a breach of a physical fence, and it immediately identifies the right rules that govern the particular actions associated with that. This is written, and you can't see it very well in here, out of focus, but this is written in natural language. So I could show you one of those, you could read it, and you would be able to understand what it says. It's not, you don't need to be a programmer to adjust it, you can actually just adjust the model, and the model executes directly without any code. Another point we're making here is how important it is that you have all of the information. So in the scenario on the left, you've got a police officer peering through the window of what appears to be a young female crouched down in a corner. That's the view, and that police officer might take a certain set of actions based on what he or she sees. However, if you have all the intelligence available to that person, and we know that there is a significant risk with this person, can you get that information from the intelligence system to that officer quickly enough so that they don't take some tragic action, which we've seen too often in policing? Another thing is around mobile technology. So Klaus demonstrated earlier how it's possible to push those actions out to a mobile device in order for that person to carry out a certain set of actions. When they respond to that device, those actions are immediately sent straight back to the control room. So there's two-way communication all the time between what's going on in the field and what's going on at the control room. With the command and control system, we often just think in the traditional terms of the emergency services, but there's a whole bunch of other components that could be, or other agencies and other groups of people that could be involved with an incident on the scale of this one, including things like community safety partnerships and local authorities who may not have a command and control system in place, but you still have to have some way of interacting with them. And so you need a system that's flexible enough and open enough to be able to interact, whether that's simply by phone, whether it's by social media, or whether it's by some other method. There needs to be something which coordinates all that activity and makes sure that the messaging that goes out is correct. And of course the media is part of that too, and that can often be a friend or a foe, depending on which end of the stick they pick up.
It is all equally important that the messages that go is coherent, so that you send the same message out to everybody. Because otherwise, if you do mixed messages, then you're starting a bit of a panic and that's why you need to be able to gather and to share information between control rooms. Now, in this incident, just to bring back the scenario, we had 3 control rooms together, so that which all operated independently. Now, what we facilitate here is information sharing. So the importance, what we're trying to summarize in here, albeit that we haven't got to the end yet, but is the importance of being able to share this information out. You've seen how we easily can share information out to end users. Equally easy could it be to share information between command centers. So that instantly, a high-risk installation like Oldfield nuclear, which I think it is, it's clearly, whatever happens there is clearly an interest for the police. It should be clearly an interest to gather information from Thistlepod's command center as well. So whatever happens at the plant should be of interest to anybody else. And therefore, even though if it's just sent for information, once the shit hits the fan, so to speak, at least they have the information available and is not restricted by the fact that in this scenario, the communication was cut. And suddenly, you find yourself without knowledge about what's going on in the plant. At least you have information up until then. If you haven't planned ahead and made sure that you have significant communication routes, or alternatives.
How are we doing for time? All right, we're okay for time?
Again, you've already seen that we can send out to police, security guards, and get the information from there. We're saying, these 3 centres should share information with the operation centres. then also equally share part of the situational awareness or with mobile commanders on site, or place a typical gold commander, sitting remote, or an operator, a local commander close to the event, commanding his or her troops. Because time is at the essence here. And what we're sort of summarizing back again, trying to get the system to facilitate and give the operators, in its widest possible perspective, could be a field commander, could be an operations center manager, or an operator, first responder, the information in a timely fashion, and be able to share it seamlessly between themselves.
The next stage is around reassurance and advice. We've talked a little bit about social media already. There's a service that Safe Platform is behind in the Nordics that provides a decision support for the public. And it's generalised. So what they do is they draw in specialist knowledge from around the country, but there is a single number you call. So let's say there's an outbreak of a swine flu in one area, and then there's some other natural disaster in another area, then the citizens know to call that one number. And the call takers are empowered to give the correct information because it's drawn from specialist advice. So before, what they expected citizens to do was to go to individual agencies, whether that would be the equivalent of DEFRA or the Environment Agency, and get their answers from there. Now they just have one place to go. And it's facilitated by making sure that messaging is drawn from the right source and presented in the right way. So that's telephone, but you also might want to be able to do that through social media, you might want to do it through the broadcast media, or you might want to do it directly through a web portal. And that's all possible to do. And in this context, you need to do that very, very rapidly. So there's not the time to set something up. Even an emergency number might be difficult to set up. You need to have something set in advance as part of your planning in order to facilitate this kind of communication. Do you want to talk about that?
You can
more or less
carry
covered
on
it.
doing that.
Yeah, just go on through that.
This is very much what Adam just mentioned there. It's all about the sharing of information. So sharing tactical information between the three command centers in this context we're talking about here could easily be added that we share information related to public, to the public through a fourth or another independent agency, or that the public can call, because the last thing you want is a run on the tactical operational centers in terms of questions from the public. So we can actually feed out. We are actually doing this, as Adam says, in Sweden. The Safe Platform is actually running a information center with local experts on site, but also remote experts.
Okay, so we reached the stage where we've got to investigate something. We've got some people at large who we may or may not have contained and captured, and after the literal dust has settled and the incident and the risk of the incident is over, we've got to rewind time effectively and find out what went on. We need to do that forensically. We need to do it in a way which protects the evidence, the best evidence. We need to handle the offenders appropriately, and at the same time, we need to make sure that we learn from what happened. And SAFE gives you the opportunity to do that, and it provides you with a number of mechanisms to do it. One of them is that you can effectively rewind time, and you can say, at this point in time, where were all the units? What knowledge did we have at this point in time? What decisions were being made? Let's move forward 30 minutes. What did we know then? And you can examine performance data. And this can be retrospective or it can be live. So you can see exactly at any point in time what's happening with the resources that you've got. But you can then also audit it and find out if the actions you took were reasonable. And that was just what I was talking about with the playback, where you can play back the positions of units and things like that.
It is very, very revealing when you go in there. And the beauty here is that because you have everything flying through one unified or command system, you have all the loggings same time, and so you can actually play back. You can actually see and question why did the person go this way.
So then what do you do once you've found that information out? So you might carry out an investigation for prosecution on this side, but then you've also got the learning side. What would we do differently next time? Can we use this as a tool in order to prepare for the next time and do things better? And that's exactly what you can do. There is the facility within SAFE to create training-based scenarios where you can look at real environments, and you can set up scripts in advance to say, well, these are the certain factors we're going to build into this environment. How would this group of people respond using this as a tool? And one of my other colleagues is here today. Do you want to talk about this before I start this video?
No, it's a training video from
Paul, did you want to come and say anything about this? He's our man for this, so it'd be better if he talks about it.
It's a training scenario from an installation in the UK, and it's basically based on the Agile Tactical Engagement System that SAAB use for firearms officers, training firearms officers, and this is some footage taken off that system that they used in one of their scenarios. That's actually a still from the footage.
I'll run the video for you.
I think this would be of interest because of the scenario. I know we're going slightly outside of our remit here, but we're taking the opportunity.
The red triangles are the insurgents, and the blue seals are the cops. And you can see this is times 10, by the way. People are not actually running that fast. The two guys at the top, they're pretty quick. You can see this is a real time, all captured in real time, and that unit at the top there is coming around, obviously, to engage. And when you see the lines going out, they're actually rounds being fired, simulated by the use of laser, and it gives a feedback of actually what happened on the ground. And you can see who initiated the gun battle, who shot first, and what the reaction to the officers on the ground was to being shot at, and whether they engaged. And there wasn't any people put into this situation that weren't going to be there during a normal shift. We didn't draft in a load of people on a planned exercise. They just, during a shift, ran that exercise, and we recorded it.
Just explain how that was all captured.
How was it captured?
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. It's like, if you can imagine a quasar that your kids play. The officers wear vests over the top of their normal tactical rig, and it's got laser sensors on. We replace the live rounds with blank, and we put a sensor on the front of the weapon system, any weapon system. They go out, they run an exercise. When they fire a blank round, a laser fires, which matches the ballistics of that weapon system and that ammunition that should be in the weapon. And when it hits the vest, there's a very, very clever calculation done that will decide whether, if you've been hit, it's a kill hit or a wound hit, and it tells you what to do. Basically, lie down, you're dead, or you've been hit in the arm, or you've been hit in the leg. You can now carry on shooting, but you can't move, etc., etc. So it's quite a complex system. Within the vest, there's a GPS system, a radio, which transmits everything, a small computer which gathers everything together and records everything.
So could you use similar technology in a live environment? Appreciating that the bad guys will never go to
No, it's never been used in an operational situation, but you could use it. It has been used with live ammunition separately with the UK Special Forces and the British Army out in Kenya. It's never been used in an operational situation, other than we used it to support a search operation in Mid Wales last October for the April Jones inquiry. It was used on that.
I'm just thinking in terms of what you guys were saying about you can see what's going on, you can recreate that incident because you've got all that command and control data. But what you're then feeding in is stuff from a live environment, people wearing stuff as well.
Exactly. So you could put in the constraint constraints or the parameters that existed at the time of the incident. You could place people more or less where that happened, rerun it, and see if there could have been a different outcome with different actions in real time. It's just another option. It's another tool in the box that you could pull out and use. Okay? Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
So, just once you've got all of that information, once you have looked at everything and you've examined it all and you've decided that this, if you imagine that this is the path that that incident took, and these dots represent all of the issues and constraints that that incident took, what could you do differently? Could you look at changing certain aspects of it based on the data that you've got, based on the examination you've got, and could you come to a different outcome? By modelling it and by running it through a training system, so the SAAB training system, you could look and see whether that outcome would be a more preferable outcome. Was the time taken less to get to the end? Or by moving this, was there some other suboptimal outcome that happened where something else got worse? So rather than making it a guess, you can try and narrow that guess down to a more predictable outcome. And if it looks like it's going to be a positive change, then you can very quickly change the system so that the knowledge updates and that there will be a different outcome the next time round. I think that's
that's what we had planned to speak about. I think it was a good challenge we got. Yeah, it was a very good we have. But I looked at it, but we have spent quite a considerable time putting it together. We would have liked to really model a nuclear plant, etc., but I think time didn't allow us to do that. No, we enjoyed it. I hope that we gave you something of interest